Okay, get to the point. Wow. Get some adjustments here. And altitude, that's probably right. Okay. How's my audio levels when somebody gets a chance to respond? I realize I'm running late again. Let me get some links. I should have had. Actually, let's go back. Okay. Probably can open up that in a new tab. I'm still unhappy on this. Okay. Why? It's okay. What is that on the? Oh, it's a copy machine. So right there is actually. I don't know why the orientation's all messed up. And let's do. Okay, thank you, John. And I'm just getting set up here. The I thought I'd be on time again. I'm gonna go through. Let me get off that and then get back in the back. I have no idea why my display in the background is not wanting to go for being the dual display. That's fine. We'll get using the displays, and in fact, the yeah, that's about right. And uh, in fact, I'll probably have a little bit of a dilemma for the display stuff as we go through and do the items. And of course you're familiar with the switch itself, so and I've got my other one as well. I'll go over the points. I want to even go through from scratch and get the 10/16/4 PCI adapter installed on the NetFendi 7000. And so I can go through that, and just to get everything all connected, I'll have a thin client. I've got some ThinkPads I'll link in, and we'll go from there. I've pulled out my fiber stuff as well. So I went through and even located the other compact adapters that we were talking about. I mean, that's a thing for another day, but I'm set for the fiber that I can do links and things like that between the switches and try that sort of stuff. But let me go through and still grab some items and get set up here a little bit further. We're just waiting for other people to join. And if folks are around, just speak up a little bit there and let us know. I've even got the on one of the ThinkPads. I have the management software on there, running on Windows XP. I'm going to go through. I guess people can watch and replay. I've got John's familiar with this as well. Not so much on the uplink board, but this is the Madge is the brand, Smart DeskStream Token Ring Switch. And I showed the thumbnail had the 3 LEDs lit green over here. And that's from the aspect of using the 100 megabit per second token ring on the back side of this. So, and this unit is very clean, just a few scuffs and things like that. I mean, eventually we can get looking inside of this thing too. And so let me go through. Let's look at going through, so I can get something up on the screen and everything else of getting this this token ring adapter installed. And I do have the other package. These are the bulk pack I got of 4. And I don't think, I have 2 left after this. But there's the IBM high speed 100/16/4 token ring PCI management adapter. Now, I've seen these identified as management adapters, and then I've seen them without that marking. And of course, I've seen the other versions for the an AS400 version and an RS 6000 version as well. So this has the same basic identifiers that the retail package has on it. Still has the IBM seal on this one, and that is still tight. So it's still linked. I mean, this will be the first time opening, going through and breaking the seal. It looks like even the tape is slipped over time, even though it's affixed. Looks like it went through and stained the cardboard as it aged. And okay, so that released at that end fairly fine. So this may have in fact been opened before, but still wrapped up in packaging. There's a loopback plug and the Wake on LAN connection. Now I do have the Wake on LAN. I think I have that used on one of the token ring adapters that's on the Netfinity 7000 right now. And really, for all that, I don't know if the Netfinity 7000 would actually wake on LAN effectively for being 220 volt and all that, but be worth it a shot. So this looks like original factory sealed. So the nature of this post is the video is I want to go through. Okay, so this has a broken seal that was beneath this, but had the other seal. So this may have been resealed once they got this as like a new old stock listing or just as an inventory somewhere. But I wanted to go through on video and go through from basically the start. We have a FRU part number there, made in Singapore. Okay. And there's the ASICs to it. And I'm getting a little bit of course, of flare from the ring light. And then it has the shielded twisted pair DE9, two of your of the green and amber LEDs, and that's important in the diagnostic or letting the adapter identifying what condition it's in. And then you have the unshielded twisted pair connection. Not really important, but the MAC address, it's marked as Wake on LAN, but it's got that 4/16 plus 100 green dot with token ring. And so that's the board. The Wake on LAN connection is on the front there. And like I say, I don't know if we'll actually go through and use that, but I'm going to go through and let me grab see, this didn't have the CD. I'm going to grab the CD from my vehicle. I don't think that will be needed. Okay. So this is the opened retail package, and this package has seen better days. But ultimately, this had beyond. There's some extra wiring. There's a loopback adapter in here, a loopback plug for testing. Probably has a little bit of testing. I don't remember a manual, but the manual is probably in digital form on the CD. And there's a little bit more cabling that was supplied with the retail pack. It has labels on there, identify particular things. But it did have, the retail pack does have a CD. I don't really think the CD is going to come into play. I've got others of these CDs around too. But the PCI family adapters installation CD-ROM guides. And when I went through and installed this on Windows XP, it recognized the adapter almost immediately. Yeah, we'll get a nice little hologram with the ring light and everything there. But this is version 3. I can go through and I can image this CD-ROM as well. Let's go through. I do have my token ring hub powered up. But of course, I have the Netfinity 7000 off right now. And we're going to go through and put this in a PCI slot. There's the cover, all the nice little instructions for the Netfinity 7000. And this system's a little bit overkill for what it does. Again, I have the RRAS, which is the routing and remote access service on this Netfinity 7000, and also DHCP. And this will simplify DHCP in a amazing way. Yeah, for the cable I have in here, I have it left unconnected. I'll be going through and I'll be changing up. In fact, let's go through. Let's use the. Later on, I'll have a chance to pull out the token ring adapter that I have in here. bracket, screw, and I'm going through. I don't have my SkyCam view of this. And I'll go through, put the retaining screw in there. I'll check on the chat in just a moment. This retaining screw is kind of tight. I'm surprised that I haven't been told until now. I haven't been told that I was muted. Yeah, this is going to be the hardest thing of this installation is getting the screw in on the adapter. Okay. So yeah, when I tilt my head, and it's the same effect as raising the boom, it goes to and automatically mutes. I was saying, and I've noticed on a review of videos on, I thought that this Anchor headset was actually very clear and unbroken, but it does sound mechanical at times, I've noticed, even though I have the USB receiver for that off to the side. I've got the adapter in. I wanted to get a cable connected, and I'll put the cover back on at a later point in time because I'll have to use that surface for just having some station there. Can probably even put the ThinkPad. Put the Think Center up on there. Let me get one network cable. I'll just grab the bag of them and Okay, yeah, I don't know why it was. Okay, now I'm being told that it's unmuted. Let me look at the audio levels. And that's just me going around and getting stuff set up. Let's. Man, I could have been a lot more organized today, right? So even though I'm just having John in chat, it's listing as that there's other viewers. Of course, uh, that YouTube is not really grand at that anyway. Okay. And as I say, I'm going to have a display thing come up here with okay, and I don't really have to be networked otherwise. Well, it'll go through and I guess I'll get a complaint. Okay, get unmuted here again. I'll get a complaint that the it's unable to get a DHCP address if I have this thin client unplugged from the network, and that just okay, and that normally goes through and just interferes a little bit with the. Okay. Okay, my mic is going through and muting quite a bit now. Okay. Maybe it's just that I need to set it back further on my hat here or something. Okay, so let's get. Okay, so what I'm going to check here first, and it probably is going through and it seems like it picked up the adapter without any other issues. But, and it's identified it as this, let's see if we can, okay. So I've had previous things. I know it's kind of hard to see. I've got my Ethernet connection, which is 10/100. It's marked as the incoming connections for the RRAS. Token ring, which is the 4/16 or 16/4 adapter I have on there already. And token ring, or excuse me, local area connection is a new one, with the connection unplugged. It actually identifies this as IBM PCI token ring adapter number 2. We're going to go through, we're going to rename this. And I'm going to call this, not 1,000. Okay, so 100 megabit per second token ring. And I can hear the clicks even under with the noise canceling. Okay, so IBM PCI token ring adapter number 2. We might go through and update the drivers, because this is identified as Microsoft driver date 10/19/1999. So this is set to automatically detect, but I want to get to where let's see if we can get the driver updated. So search for a suitable driver. And we're going to specify the CD-ROM. Microsoft Windows Update is probably fine as well. Okay, so it's going through, found a driver for the following device. Suitable driver is already installed. Click cancel. Or to reinstall the current driver, click next. I don't know why it really didn't go through and search. I should have specified the CD-ROM. Okay. Now, who knows how long? Okay. Because I'm still, yeah, it's still referring to that Microsoft. I don't know, known drivers have disk. Okay. So, yeah, going through and specifying the CD-ROM. Insert into D. D is a compact. It's where we have the disk. Okay, acts like it's reading it. I'm just wanting to make sure. Okay, so here we have the list. And I realized I could put this over on the video capture as well. But we've got the high-speed 100/16/4 token ring PCI adapter. And so at least the, okay, it cannot verify it's compatible with your hardware. But we're going to error occurred during the installation of this device. Adapter, the style of the INF is different from what was requested. So it's reverting to the Microsoft, and that's so interesting for me having Windows 2000 server on my other RAS box. It identifies the adapter correctly. We're going to see if we can just, everything being equal, if we can just use this driver. Okay, so I'm going to go through. I want to, let's set an address for this. And I'm going to do 10.1 by the conventions I have here. Let's do 20. Okay. And actually for this, we're not going to specify. Okay. 0.1. We're not going to specify the gateway under the grand scheme of things. I want to go through and I want to work with the DHCP and the routing and remote access as well on this. Okay, so it's wanting to restart. That's an excellent time to go through, start looking at the switch. Okay, and we may have to adjust things here slightly. But let me get the okay. Okay. I want to adjust things. This is the same thin client. I used it home. We can probably ignore. I'm going to get, okay, so let's get the built-in webcam. Okay. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to power up on the token ring switch. I don't know what I'm going to do for that. I'll have to go through and see a detection routine a little bit better. Because I'm fairly certain on my other Windows 2000 server that I have the updated driver from the CD-ROM. And that, I don't know if that'll necessarily be critical. I've gone through and I've plugged in the ring switch. Let me go through and we're going to try and start a session on COM1, which is where I have it on this thin client. Okay, self-test passed. And that dialing string is really interesting for all that. Okay. Okay. And I've actually got a password that I did set on this when I was going through and configuring it. And I want to go through and I'll actually change the IP, but let's go through and just kind of look at some of the basics here while the that Fenny 7000 starts up. Show system values. Of course, I go through and I've doxed myself now for the contact name. Okay, and no ring number. And me and John were talking about this as well, about the possibility of setting a ring number. Actually, let's go through return. I want to set an IP. Here's the version screen. Okay. Just this general information, the build time. I think my build time is older than what the one that John has. And I haven't looked at my other switch. I do want to set the IP. Let's do show IP values first. So I want to go through and I want to change the gateway and the IP. Okay. So let's set the IP. I'm going to do 10.1.5.221. Okay. Gateway 1.5.220 because I want to go to the RRAS server as the gateway of this. Subnet's fine. We don't need to enable DHCP. Okay, so let's return to previous menu. Everything I have set up otherwise, as we'll get through and look at the port settings, I have the configuration of that set up correctly from the other location. We're going to need to go through. Yeah, this is going to be a bummer if the driver is different. So let's go through. Let's get it to where it's connected, the link, and kind of examine things a little bit further from there. Okay. So link 1, this. Okay. Okay. So the link came up I want to see the rate though. Okay, it's listed as 100 megabit per second, but apparently it's where Windows 2000 cannot have that driver, or there's something that's going to be more to it that I'm at to set up for the choice of installing that driver. And there may be a driver separate from the CD that's out there. I'll have to look at the time spent and everything else to see why. Maybe it's intended for like Windows NT or something like that. So we've got the link to the switch. I want to go through especially for the DHCP. Okay. So we're going to go through, we're going to add a scope. Okay. And just to identify that as 100 megabit per second token ring. Okay. Okay. Okay, starting IP address 10.1.5. Let's do from 10 to 50. And I realized I could also put this up on the screen. Length is 24. We're going to be working with a /24 network, 255.255.255.0. We don't need to add any exclusions for now. 8 days for DHCP lease is fine. Yes, we want to configure these options. The router we're going to go to is 10.1.5.220. Okay. DNS, we're going to do 10. And this is what is passed to the DHCP client. So we're giving the internal DNS address first, our public side DNS secondary. We're doing that to resolve the any like DNS entries that we have on the local network first. No Win server as of yet. We're going to activate the scope now. Okay, and we'll get using the scope here very soon. I want to go through and also set up the RRAS. Okay. And we're going to go through for IP routing. We're going to go through and add a new interface. Okay, and it's a private side. So that's all we had to do since we have the network, all the other RRAS set up before. Now I'm going to go through, since we have the link and everything else done. I'm gonna put the cover on, and we'll probably bring in the Think Center system first. And what we can do, kind of as a preliminary of going through for this, so on the Thin client, we're going to look at the port info, selection number 4. Now the link 1 is port 25. 24 ports on the front, 1 through 24. And then link 1 is port 25. Link 2 in this configuration is the second 100 megabit per second token ring from the uplink card on the back. Okay. So, and I configured this, some of the name and stuff like that before. There's a bug in here that for the ring speed entry on that last line, it has a, it doesn't have an entry. We'll see with the later on with the management software that it'll identify that correctly. But at least it's identifying it's up here. And we can also go through for the 6 of the port counters, also show a port 25. And it's showing some traffic occurring on this so far, at least. Just the out hot text and the multicast packets for out. We're going to get a Think Center, and I have one of the same adapters installed in it. Okay. And things are dusty here, but okay, just my little Think Center here. And the irony is this kind of selected itself for use here to where I've got that 100 megabit per second token ring adapter in the slot there. And this does have, gigabit Ethernet on it as well. But we'll go through and we'll just plug in from the token ring interface and make sure that we get an address and get the link up. I didn't realize I had another, because we have the switch powered up. Let's just keep that cord off to the side because I have these other two. Handy to know that I've got that if I need it later on. Okay. We'll use this. The system. I'm tempted to go through And okay, we're going to do another chord from link 2. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do once I plan on getting the ThinkPads out, because I'm going to need the space. I've got them off to the side there. Okay. Okay. Bring in the VGA cord. Okay, and I brought in my media filters too to get kind of discussion on that aspect later on when we're talking. Okay, so I have to play effectively for this, using this big Samsung unit. Well, I need to clean the two. Okay. Yeah, my cords are going around here, and I said I wanted to show the management software to this as well. Boy, this is okay. I'm waiting. Okay. Why is my display all of a sudden giving me problems? I had this running. Had this running at another location, and I get it here, and it is kaput. And I hoped to use the wanted to have a display of the different items all at once here. So let me readjust for that. Okay. And this could go in a wider screen aspect than this, but that's fine. Huh. Maybe I'll set a ThinkPad on top of the this ThinkCenter then later on. Okay, let's pull that cable. That cable. Okay, to look at okay, on our ThinkCenter, through to where, even though we have shortcuts for this on the desktop and things like that, our network connections. Interesting, saying limited or no connectivity. Listing as 100 megabit per second, but I wonder if it picked up an IP address from the DHCP server. It did not. So the link is good. I wonder if my okay. And I thought that this would be so easy. Okay. Leases. Okay, there's our pool. Nothing for leases. This should have picked up an address with the link there. We have the 3 link lights lit. I may just pull out a ThinkPad to see if we can get an address from this switch as well. Because in my other test, and the benefit I wanted to show here was that the ring switch is for the demo of the ThinkPads I have to set up on it. It goes through to where 4 megabit token ring or 16 megabit per second token ring plugged into here gets assigned a DHCP address. And so it's a nice switch with UDP connections that can go through and just basically just you plug in a token ring station and it works with it. We'll have to go through and check to why that is why that's not giving us an address though. I thought it was going to be a relative thing where I could put I could just bring it up here and the same kind of testing process. Okay, so this is our 4 megabit per second. The management was on, excuse me, this one is the 4 megabit per second. And I have these ports set right now as automatic. So whatever the token ring card is set up as. Okay. A little bit of adjustment for another power supply. Okay. I brought in the correct power supply. Boy, it's just going through and it's telling me as I tilt my head that I'm muted, unmuted. Okay. Correct power supply. And I can always look at my audio levels to kind of see too. Okay. So this one, we can go straight from, I'm short enough distance. I had couplers that I brought for extending. Okay. We'll quickly get this ThinkPad over here on the side connected just to kind of verify whether an address comes up or not for it. I'm going to go through and I'm going to get the other, and this actually has Windows 98 on this this other ThinkPad. It's actually a little bit broken up. It's a 390X, and the trackpad does not work for it. Okay. Okay, cords. Get it quickly connected as well. Okay. Let's see if we have an address. Okay, limited or no connectivity. So it's ultimately where my DHCP service on the and let's go through. I want to verify. Maybe I don't have my maybe my network stuff didn't stick on. Okay, so let's go through and check. No. Okay, so it's going to go through. I must have pressed the power button. Oh, come on. Okay, let's get this powered back on. Okay. All this tangle of cords. Hey, why isn't my mouse working? But this looks like it gets to the zone that it okay. Okay, yeah, give it a background. Okay, so I'm back to my switch configuration. Okay. IP. Show IP values. Okay. maybe it shouldn't necessarily have a gateway address. An IP address. Okay, 220. Let me look at the other one. Because here it doesn't have a gateway address. And the routing remote access. In fact, here's what we can do. Okay. Oops, so my ThinkPad did not get an address there. And I wonder if I have to reboot the switch, maybe. Let's try that anyway. Okay, so and I think that there's a choice to reboot it. Otherwise, you just pull the plug. Okay. Obtain an IP address automatically. So for all that, I've got an address. I'm going to go through and I'm going to review. Okay, so our DHCP is set up. The router. Okay, so let's look. Scope options. .1. The router we're giving. And maybe I'm getting confused with my 3.1. Okay. So that all looks, DHCP looks like it's set up correctly. Network addresses. Properties. Let's look at routing and remote access. Okay. Um, let's look how it routes to see if there's a there is a 10.1.5.0 entry in there. Destination. But is there? Okay. 5.0. Okay. Oh, do we maybe need to restart? Now I'm not looking at the chat like I should, because I probably after I added that entry, I probably need to restart. I probably need to restart the routing service, routing and remote service. Okay. Um, that's interesting. Haven't looked at all the startup values before to see. Okay, so we're going to go through. We're going to unplug and replug the token ring. Yeah, I mean, it went through and let's restart. Even though we made the scope active, let's go through and restart DHCP as well. I could be just where I'm impatient and skipping a step, but great confirmation otherwise. Okay. So let's see all this. And you'll sometimes get this authorize the DHCP server thing with, and that's supposed to only be on a domain. Still doesn't have any. And this worked for me elsewhere. Okay, and at least here. Okay, so we're gonna let's do disable, enable, acquiring network address. taking a long time. Now, these are acquiring a network address. I wonder if I have to just take this whole assembly back and reevaluate my so I wanted to show the management stuff too. Limited or no connectivity. It's not being assigned address. I was hoping I was going to be able to explain this and have a running network, and it is not. It's going through, and I'm still not getting something quite right there. So I want to go through it. I'll take the stuff back and go through and see if I can get stuff working and reconfigured, and have a little bit more rational of a video here, because this is kind of a disappointment. I had everything tested and working, and didn't go through a little bit further to where I don't know if it's just something that's not catching with the driver or something else. Yeah, I would think so, because that's the commonality. And I could go through and I could probably set static addresses and go through, but my intent with the video was to go through and show I just plug these ThinkPads in, that it didn't matter if they have so let's do this. Let's do, as I say, have you tried turning it on and back off and back on? And let's go through and just restart the server. It may be, something to that I wonder if it's something to the drivers, which is still, again, is strange, because I have the drivers on my Windows 2000 box elsewhere. It's doing the same functions, and it goes through and works. It identifies the adapter correctly. And so we're just going to restart, because the links are showing us being up. But that both DHCP and also, I mean, that really not necessarily for the routing and remote access, that could be operational. But the DHCP is not functioning correctly there. And so maybe restarting the service will do good too. I may have to look through on the NetFendy 7000 just to see if the settings on the adapter, if there's something that's there. So I wanted to go through also one of the aspects of this was that there is so the manual for this ring switch, easily findable, but there it is. And the for people to go through and look over. So that gives all the an overview and showing how to configure these ring switches, or excuse me, these DeskStream switches. And if I could share my screen even as it is, connectivity, the ports, the 24 RJ45 ports, each behaves exactly like a shared hub port. Each port has its own MAC address. Ports 1 through 23 are direct. Each can be connected to adapters, bridge routers, backbone to our switches. Direct ports are known as slave or concentrator on ring switches ports. And so that was the kind of the beauty of these DeskStream switches, is that you just plug a 4 megabit per second token ring, 60 megabit per second token ring, whatever, didn't matter. Now, a lot of the adapters, of course, I mean, even for like the 8-bit, there initially was the 4 megabit per second. There is 16/4 adapters for even like 8-bit, the older interfaces. So having a token ring network with the 4 megabit per second is not really a necessarily critical thing. But in my mind, I liked this setup because it was going through to where you could have the 4 megabit per second in there if you had to. And so we're going to see once this thing restarts, and then otherwise I'm just tempted just to take the whole assembly back down and retest it again. It's odd that this I got this monitor up here, it wouldn't work. Worked fine down there at the other location, and who knows, it's just it's kind of like a odd zone here to where it doesn't go through. And I mean, it'd be nice going through and showing the DeskStream management interface too. It's kind of neat. I'll have to go through there and set the ring identifier, and there's some aspects there that I could probably work out to get this unit really a little bit more fully configured. But yeah, just really odd that I had this test set up working fine, and I get it here and I'm having some issues with it. And of course, we started from a base level of installing the PCI adapter. But which I could have gone through and tested and things like that a little bit earlier. But heck, it's fine to go through and stumble on and hit some of these issues live as it is for all that. We'll let everything start up here, and I'll try and refresh the addresses from there. The link that they have to the switch is good and everything. And really the the ThinkPad that I have the management on is over here. It's actually on and set as a 4 megabit per second speed. Okay. Okay, so we'll get DHCP. And I wish I could have a better setup. I could go through and just flip between uh, these computer sources and things like that to kind of show some of the things. But okay. So disable, enable. I think it might just be the link between. Okay, and that gave an immediate connected. Wow. So didn't give the warning about limited or no connectivity. And there we have an address. So on the and what I can do, I realize it's hard to see. Okay. Okay. So okay. We get okay, and I want it both places. Okay. And that looks good how it's being presented there. So, and I mean, I almost should have an external keyboard and mouse for this, but just to kind of show, okay, so let's go through, let's look at a status first. Oh, it's interesting. Okay, this is showing as 16. Okay. And okay. Okay, so this on the Windows 98 system also connected. I do have advanced network data rate. I have is auto. So this will be a 16 megabit per second as well. The okay. And I mean, we could go through and we could look on the switch just to kind of see that both are on there as 16 megabit per second. I did have this set as down to the 4 megabit per second rate. And that is under here. It's set to auto currently. Let's go through. We're going to set it to the 4 megabit per second rate. I don't think that that'll necessarily require a restart from Windows XP. But so let's look at, okay. Still showing the 16. I'm going to go through. Let's break the connection. Okay. Still set as, did I not click an OK or something here? Network data rate, M4. Close. Disable. Enable. That's odd that I had. Okay, there is at 4 megabit per second. Okay. And my Windows 98 is at 16 megabit per second. Both are on the, in fact, I don't think I can see the other. Okay, I'm just seeing the local station. But it effectively puts them on the same subnet. And so here we're going to go through to where starting up Firefox, let's go to the Art tool. And that, I mean, that's going through the 4 megabit per second token ring connection to the Madge switch, and then a link of 100 megabit per second token ring to my DHCP server and RAS server. I have not going through and being able to necessarily switch around. Oh, this is that one that has the. I'll have to show that sometime on. Okay. So let's go through. And bringing up the Arden tool even on the Windows 98 system here, if it will. But I've tested this elsewhere, and okay, page cannot be found. Let's see what. Yeah, I checked the address here just a moment ago. Okay. And we should be able to ping that gateway. Okay. Huh. It's timing out. We clearly, and this is Windows 98, so yeah. Okay. Let's go through and restart this as well. But I've gone through and I've tested this from all the different places to go through, and that mismatched 4 megabit per second token ring, 60 megabit per second token ring. And then this setup with only the 2 links of 100 megabit per second token ring, we have a different station that's on. And basically you could go through and you could set up a dual home station. I've gone through, other locations I connected this up to the gigabit Ethernet, and also on the token ring side, just for the setup of the going through and being able to have a relatively modern station, or Windows XP in this case, that I could go through and I could bring in files or use as a file server. Of course, I can always use my Windows 2000 server that I have, that I'm doing the RRAS and the DHCP from both location. I could go through and have that, with a network drive or something like that shared. In the instance of this NetFandy 7000, that's probably a good idea to have, since I have those, the disk on the caddy. I could go through and set up a RAID set of drives on the server and go through that to share to the workstations. But the workstations in this case, I realize this is a higher level, being the ThinkPads of Windows 98 and Windows XP, that I'm going through and using as test examples. But the notion that these have full internet connectivity as well. Okay, so there, yeah, restart. We've got the same thing. We got the Ardent tool over here on the Windows 98 system as well. This is in at 16 megabit per second. Set to auto for it. Set to 4 megabit per second over here on the Windows XP station. So the management utility, just to go through, is this TrueView. It's interesting that's showing up as blue now, John, rather than the white or whatever else otherwise. And it gives these windows that you can actually dock and put in other places. This is linked in, so this should go through and be able to pull up the data. Oh, okay. So there's a okay. So I actually have to go through. I have to change the IP setup on this as well. And that probably will just go through there and there's a way. Okay, so I'll just go through it. I'm going to set up a new. Okay, so we had 221. Is that correct? And then I have to go through and there's okay. So just to refresh from the default password. Okay, so there we're on, putting a little pop out otherwise. And so this is showing yellow. And we went through for the alerts. this is actually showing it probably is going to show as authorization failures. But there you have a running log. We can go through and we can do things like clearing those 6 entries for the authorization failure. But we get all these different things. It's quite an involved management utility. And just going through and showing, all these are lit green. We're not seeing any warnings otherwise for the alerts. But I could go through there, and if I would set this with a ring number, we would probably get this to go white or otherwise. Now it's showing a front panel view, the 3 LED indicators on the front panel being green. This is our link to between the it's link 1, so this is going back to our AS server, DHCP server, the NetFendi 7000 in this case, and showing it the current port status is open, and the ring speed is 100 megabit per second, that link, and it's set to the concentrator mode. In this instance is what works for connecting up as the manual identifies, a workstation that is a computer, be it server or this think center that we have on link 2. These are set in concentrator modes. Now, this also has, you right click on it, and you can look at other things like the statistics. And this is, you're selecting, in this case, since a reboot or from now, if you're going through and resetting these counters. But these counters going through and actively clicking, updating along. And then for the link 2, which is to the Think Center, we have that 100 megabit per second token ring. And also going through for stats on it, the running counters. So this, it took a while to go through to get this set up. And I mean, from the ground level up, I mean, installing the PCI adapter, we learned about that. I'll have to find a little bit better driver for the Windows 2000 side, just for that to be able to update. As I say, I think that version 3 of the CD, I think may be for, I'd have to look at a time frame that this came out. But this seems to be more for the something else that's going through and flagging the Windows 2000 as not being necessarily the correct setup for what the driver is expecting. And okay, it'll switch to white or yellow after opening. And yeah, like I say, so I think that's still relating to that ring number probably is what I need to set in there for the white. I don't know if I go through and reopen it. And of course, that's odd that it shows that blue, the other selection I have there as blue. Okay, shows it as blue there. Okay, and then yeah, it goes yellow. And once it's set up correctly, yeah, it goes through to where it it opens very quickly and goes through to where that's the management software for this, and that's all available online. Uh, John found that, and uh, and certainly links can be provided and things like that for people considering going through and getting one of these devices. I'm going to order yet another one for just going through and linking up stuff. I'm going to pull in my other screensaver starting up on the NetFandy 7000. Pull in my other unit, and I'm actually going to go through. I'll switch back from this regular and I'll have to recenter this. For the bench. And of course, I can go through and I can clean up the bench a little bit more. I should have been a little bit more organized here, but this is the other unit I have. And of course, all the same on the front. And it has the regular fiber links there, and then the stacking module as well. I've got to get at least one stacking cable, and I want to go through and link the stuff up. I'll have some of it at my other location where I was going through and testing the stuff at, but going through it's interesting. They've got these indents in the corners. That's for if you would have the rubber pads on the bottom, and just to be able to cushion a little bit more. From what I found, the rack ears that I had were actually a little bit wide and would not quite go in my 19-inch rack real easily. There's probably a way to get them in, or for me to spread that 19-inch rack a little bit better, but I was having some troubles with that. But getting to the point where this is probably going to be a little bit more of my go-to, just with the flexibility of the UDP connections that are on these devices, to being able to connect up, not necessarily having the Type 1 connection and using the shielded twisted pair cabling. Now I do have the, and I'm speaking of okay, these are all my Type 1 to Type 1. I've got others in there, but I mean, the MOS, the 8228s with the Type 1 connectors, using the shielded twisted pair cables being a little bit thicker and harder to work with. And I mean, there's going to be adapters that are just going to have the DE9 connection. And for that, I can go through and I can get out my media filters, and even going through over flat cable. I've showed these in videos, a couple years back, but going through to using flat cables that I've tried and tested, but this is a media filter. This would go on that DE9 connection of the older adapters that do not have a UTP connection, and go to just the flat cable to plug into this port. They work. There's other adapters that go through from the this is still even still up from the DE9 to unshielded twisted pair connection. But there's ways that I have to go through there and to use these switches and the UDP connections with the older adapters. And so I'm set up pretty good. These are ones that I have that even have the integrated cable on them to go through, to where it's not an RJ45. I mean, that's a more narrow connection, like an RJ11 or RJ12. 4 pins, and then you have the DE9 on the system side. And these, I've got to look for the availability of media filters on eBay and things like that to find out if they're really available enough. In this case, I certainly have my own supply, but I know people with this will go through with the setup of the UTP connections, and they'll probably need media filters at some point. One of these I have is opened, and these are effectively they have the balun, the balanced and balanced side, but going through to where simple to reproduce these components could be even very available out there. I'd even have to look for the availability of these the transceiver chips to, that's produced the 27th week of 1995. And for being token ring cabling, the DE9 is a little bit staggered off of center for the PCB, and just has wires that come out basically soldered into that PCB, but very reproducible of modules for media filters. If people would go through and have to go through to have some, besides finding some out there online. And that's just the interior of something like this media filter, to where it's in the body, and that's why it's so. And this is a I have some network switches that are this brand, Transition Networks 802.5 specifications, but that's what the media filter is, to be able to go through and use the devices. I'd even have to get, this is actually more for the other side of converting you have an adapter with a UDP connection, and you want to go and make that into a DE9 like the older adapters would have. And then it's got the green dot marked as, this is for token ring, is what they're meaning. That green dot is probably identifying for the 16 megabit per second speed, even though the green dot doesn't necessarily have a indicator inside. But there's FRU part numbers for those things. And that's just virtually the other side of the media filter, going through and to between the UDP and the shielded twisted pair style connections. But lots of stumbles and stammers and things like that along the way. But and I'm going through here. I have my internal webcam on. But we went through and we got it. It took a couple machine restarts. I had to remember to restart services, but it looks like it even took restarting the whole server as it was. And even though that driver is kind of the generic one set to auto rate on the NetFindy 7000, that ultimately, if it's all the conditions are met otherwise, it gets on at 100 megabit per second. The other driver from IBM has a lot more tabs to it, and there's ways to go through and adjust that a lot more than maybe I need to look a little bit deeper to kind of see. But yeah, we can probably go through, flip out of this. And I'm going to go through. Of course, I'll have to have a video connection in there to work with the Think Center further. Wanted to go through and show. I can go through and we can look at the tabs. I want to look at the NetFinity 7000 for how it shows the adapter in fact, let's go through, let's start up the RRAS as well, because this should show stuff going across, should show the routing, so like the mappings. I didn't show too many mappings for all that. But for the routes, I wanted to look for the .5 or the 10.1.5 network, just to kind of see if there was any more entries or anything like that in there. And I'll go through and on this NetFindy 7000 as I go through and firm stuff up otherwise. I'm going to actually be pulling out the other token ring interfaces on this. Having the switch in place, this will be my connection. I'll have to kind of decide on how the equipment gets changed at each location I have for doing this. And through, yeah, because this is going to be the same. See, still. Because normally on this you have many other tabs for the true driver, and this may not have all the selections that the true driver is able to have. There's quite a few other values in there. Do so. Okay. The other thing I wanted to look at, this is not on a domain. We don't have this as a primary domain controller or anything like that. I want to look at how my work group is set up. Yeah, it has it as a work group. So I'm going to go, and this will require a restart as well. I want to go through and set this as a IBM Museum work group. Instead of the generic value. And as I say, it'll prompt me for a restart after. Okay, welcome to the IBM Museum work group. You must root this computer. We'll let it reboot again. And then I'm going to go through and I'll be ultimately tidying up things and kind of deciding how I'm going to go through and change things at this location. But that's been a pretty good stream. And okay, so let me get up here. But yeah, the late starting stream again, but we've done all right, and it's run for more than 2 hours. So time to go through and to go through and clean this up. I apologize for all the stars and stammers and the length of this, but we got to where we wanted to go and got everything done and demonstrated for what this can be. So if there was any interest in that, I mean, people can still reach out to me and they can view this in replay. If there's any aspect that we need to touch on, I'm still writing up a little bit of a manual on the RRAS and the DHCP on going through and setting up those services. So the thought is there that you have a system and you can do a very minimal system. It doesn't necessarily have to be like the NetFendi 7000 here with 4 Pentium Pro CPUs in there and 4 gigabyte of RAM. The Server 2000 I have at the other location that I've demonstrated here is a Pentium 3, and it has a 256 megabyte of RAM for that unit. And the system is not even loaded down for doing the RRAS and doing the DHCP, the functionalities that it does. It's not even loaded down the slightest on those limited resources. But the thought is you have an Ethernet connection on that. One of the boards I have plugged into that is a gigabit Ethernet link that's connected to my network. And then also you have a token ring adapter plugged in. In this case, we're able to go through and use the 100 megabit per second token ring adapter just because we have the expansion board of 100 megabit per second token ring on this DeskStream Switch. And any of the token ring stations that are connected up to the switch are put on the same subnet, no matter what ring speed they're set to. It's the same ring speed. It's going to be the same subnet on the Think Center workstation that I have connected up to the other link to. So I could go through and again use that as an intermediate station that's visible to the token ring clients. And in this case, it also has an uplink to the internet itself. Just a way to get files basically over to the token ring network. They're also internet enabled. As time goes on, I'll also do having. I want to show some of the. I've got a station at the other location that's just got DOS loaded on it, and I have the trace and performance network board on there. I'm just actually running stuff on the diagnostic and utility program that IBM had for token ring networks. And I'm just going through and kind of testing away and things like that, even for the DOS level of seeing that connectivity to the token ring network. And we'll go through to probably have that in a video later on to where I can show an older workstation like a PS2 computer connected to the token ring network and run through the paces with that. We're trying to get through to where the dial-up access to the token ring connectivity that's put through, so a station could even connect up to a serial port connection into the network and be put on the token ring network as well. So that those videos are coming up at a point. I'm still just doing the live streams. I'm not doing really any videos during the week, and I haven't had the time for that. But hopefully I can get set up a little bit better. Now, in 2 weeks, it's the Vintage Computer Federation Southwest in Dallas. And I plan to be there. Certainly, if you go by and look to chat me or whatever else, I doubt how many items I'm going to really bring for sale or anything like that, but I'll be going around at least checking out the other booths and things like that. Try and have a little bit of a banner or placard up identifying me if people don't recognize me otherwise. But look forward to seeing people there and going through and answering any questions they may have. I'm just trying to bring up the token ring feasibility a little bit more to show that it is a little bit more of a native connectivity for the PS2 computers or the older systems, PC, XTs, things like that, for having a token ring adapter that is a lot of the time easier to find, has a unshielded twisted pair connections on it, or a media filter can be designed to get the unshielded twisted pair connection from that adapter to link into a device like this for the DeskStream Switch. So I hope people have enjoyed watching this video and find it informative. By all means, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please do so. And to see other stuttering and stammering content like this, unprepared, late, but trying to be pass on a little bit of information to you. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you. Bye-bye.